Ohayo gozaimasu. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, everybody. How's everyone doing? Sorry, I am late. I was trying to figure out the camera. I thought I had a bit of time. I could play around with the settings. The frustrating thing, I don't want to get too technical right off the bat, just talking about the camera, because I'm not very good at it anyway. But I can't change the settings for when it's in streaming mode, when it's connected to the computer, until it's connected to the computer. So I can't just sit here and like go through the settings. I have to like be over there, and I can't change what's the aperture when it's plugged in. All I've got access to is the shutter speed and the ISO, and it's really frustrating, and it keeps going in crazy. The f-stop, thank you. Yeah, I can't change the f-stop when it's connected to the computer like this. It's locked to me. So all the settings I have when I'm like doing normal filming, they all go completely crazy when I'm trying to connect it to this. Anyway, I've done a bit of fiddling. I've changed the lens. I've moved position. That's why I'm a bit late today. Wow, the back is really blown out. Anyway, oh, I shouldn't have rubbed my eyes there. My eyes have gone all blurry. Hello. Right, today, I'm back. Today, we're going to be doing some more on the bonsai. Later this afternoon, I'm doing some printing and I need to take the paper out. Give me 1 second. Let me take the paper out and I'll be right back. Here's my pack. Let that defrost over the course of the stream, and then by the end of the stream, I should be ready to do a little printing. Magnets on the fridge, yeah. Should we do some carving? Let's see how the camera looks. It's not perfect. How far am I into the printing? I think I've done 5, 6 colours. I didn't do any last week because there was a day short, and then I had carving in the evening, and so changing the setup from printing to carving, it takes a bit of time, and like I don't want to do printing, changing the setup, carving, then because I was going to have to do a lot of clearing as well, so it was going to make a lot of mess, and I didn't want wood chips going in my pigments and stuff. So last week I binned it. I just focused on carving, and I got that one project done. We can talk about it a little bit later. Let's flick over to the block and get some carving done. It's a little bit better, right? It's not mostly on the camera settings. I had to adjust a bunch of stuff on the filters on the actual OBS. Straightening. Oh my god. Is everything okay? My volume, is that peaking a bit much? Oh god. Spiegel, welcome in. Thank you for the streak. 25 stream streak. Wow. Dedication. I don't think I've ever had a stream streak like that on any streams. Okay. Is that updated? Yeah, that's fine. Let's go. I've still got a little bit, just some progress stuff. I did a bit more kanji. These take a very long time to do. So I did a section, like 5 lines there. Down here, we finished all that. I left this one to do with the knife for the hair. We finished all this section, finished here. These are taking a long time. I haven't finished this. I figured today we could do some of the X's, and then we can move on and do this more open armor here. This is the more detailed side of the body, and this side of the body over here where it's still white, there's not as much of this armor. There's a little bit less of the armor on this side. So this side will go a little bit quicker. There's more wide open spaces a little bit. Block's looking good. Yeah, I'm happy with how this carving's coming out. It's slow going because I'm being really meticulous on the carving, even more so when I'm not streaming than when I am. I'm a little bit worried that like the level I go to when I'm not streaming, I'm checking every line much more carefully, and there's a little bit more vibing with the lines when I'm streaming. Anyway, I don't think you'll be able to see in the finished print like the differences. And we're talking like really subtle margins here. So yeah, let's do the X's and then we'll move over to this section. Let's just position it center Is that all in focus? Yeah, that's good. How is everyone doing? Lots to talk about. Knife is sharp. Let me flick over to my reference. Start the music. Check the audio levels. All good. Hope everyone had a nice weekend. Let's do it. Bought Travellers from Mokankan, so I'll soon have my first Taryn Casey carved print. Thank you very much. I hope you like it. Those are blow-ups from much smaller prints. What was that? Oh, why has it gone all dark? Did we see something pop up on screen there? I missed it. Hope you've had a great week, Papa Sound. Yeah, thank you. It's gone all dark again. Nande. Was it just sound, or did we get a visual pop-up on screen there? I heard sparkles, but no. Maybe it's behind my camera, you know. Just sound, damn it. That was going to be a surprise for you. Let me... I'm sorry. Let me just go into the alerts and see. Nande. Subscribers. Visuals and sounds. 7. Save changes. Was that a Prime sub? That must have been a Prime sub then. Yeah. I made a little animation. I didn't have much time. I did it quickly. And I'm really upset that didn't go off. I've turned the sound down. Do I need to increase the scale? One thing, if anyone else is streaming, Chicken Meister, maybe you can help me with this. I can't choose where it's positioned on screen. Do I need to add anything into my OBS? It should just do it straight from the creator dashboard, right? Nande. Well, I've turned the sound off, so that's a shame. Visuals and sounds. 1 second. Maybe we turn that one off. Okay, anyway, I don't want to faff around with that too much. We're here to watch some carving. I can... Yeah, no, I made a little animation to pop up on stream. And I thought I turned all the sounds off, but apparently the Prime one had a little bit of sound. No, I'm not using Stream Elements. I'm just using the Twitch Creator Dashboard. Okay, let's just do some carving. Jesus. Sorry, it's a slow start. We're already at 14 minutes and we've done nothing. I'll figure it out. I'll do some playing around with it. It should have gone off though. Maybe I'll have a little investigation into stream elements. I won't spoil the surprise of what it is. It's not a very detailed animation. I animated some eyes, but I think it looks kind of nice. If not a little bit janky, but it's okay. So apologies about Tuesday. No, Friday. Today is Tuesday. Apologies about Friday. I had to cancel the stream. I was not doing very well. I was very great. I was exhausted. I had huge bags under my eyes. I'd overexerted myself, and I was gonna not be very. Did that pop up? I'm always looking down, so I can't see it. Ohayou gozaimasu. Hey, thank you, thank you. I heard a noise, no visual, which is weird because I've turned all the sounds off. There should be no noises. Subscriber, resubscribed. Eh? Okay, we'll have to figure that out later. No, because I have my headphones on. No, it's not in my OBS. We're not going to do this now. We're not going to do this now. We've already wasted too much time. There will be alerts. Thank you so much for the subs. Thank you. Sorry, the one I just clicked to there, that was my alert panel, but I've got no cameras on it, so. I see text, subscriber, tier 1, etc. Are you expecting to see something else? Yeah, there's a little pop-up animation that comes up as well. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. It was the wrong time to experiment and, fiddle with the cameras today. I'm not in the right place to do that. Anyway, I was doing some... Last Tuesday you saw me. I was telling you about some of the work I was doing. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 6 different blocks I'm carving at the moment and a printing job. I finished 3 of them last week. The message you saw me get at the start of the previous stream was that one of those jobs had to be finished that day and sent out, which was a lot. But we got it done. I sent it out. That would have been on Tuesday. Then I had 2 more identical blocks that I had to do for that. It's for sort of a print party type thing, but there's an awful lot of people going to be there. And so multiples of the same block were needed. And it was a pretty tight deadline for that. So late nights and fine carving in the morning, fine carving in the afternoon, and then fine carving late until night. My eyes had they were not doing good on Thursday evening. I clearly got some eye strain or something, and just like my vision was, I couldn't focus on the small stuff because my eyes were tired, I think. So everything was a little bit blurry because I hadn't been taking care of myself. I hadn't slept enough. I hadn't rested my eyes. So I didn't want to stream on Friday because I was like not in a good mood. But we got it done and finished it on Saturday. Got everything sent out on Saturday. Which meant that I got a day off. I should have got back to the old work, but I was very much in need of a day off. So I got a weekend day, took my son to the park. We went cycling around the park. Really, really fun. Not time for a microscope, time for some sleep. I just need to rest my eyes. My eyes work fine when they're well rested. I wonder what's going on outside. So this week is another really busy week for me. We've got carving yesterday on the samurai, carving today on the samurai. In the evenings, I'm working on the anime prints. This afternoon, I'm printing. So after this stream, I'll do a little bit of setup for the studio, change it into a printing studio. The paper's out. It should be defrosted by that time. We'll do printing in the afternoon. I should be able to get one kind of wider colour. I'll choose which colour I want to do today. Usually in a day I can get 2. I've got nearly 70, I think, sheets in the back. A little bit less than 70, like 68 or something like that. 68 sheets in the pack, but I've also got to mix all the pigments and stuff. So in a day I get like comfortably 2 colours. So today I reckon I can get one sort of a little bit trickier colour, maybe something that needs like a lot of rubbing time or something. So I'll choose a nice wide colour to do today. And then tomorrow I'll get another couple colours done on it. That'll take us up to 8 colours. How many colours are in the thing? 3, 4. Maybe something around 12 or 14 impressions. I'm not sure right now. Somewhere around there though. So we'll be a good portion into the printing. And then Thursday we've got the event where we're going to use the blocks that I carved. And I think there's a bunch of people coming to that one because we have 8, I think it's 8 blocks. And a lot of people. So I'm not sure how he's going to run it. I haven't been given that much information, to be honest. I've been given a location, a time, and that it has something to do with One Piece. That's basically all the information I've been given. I've asked for some follow-up information, but that hasn't come. So yeah, that's Thursday, which means that I have to move my working hours around. I'll be doing mokankan work on Saturday now, and then Sunday will be Asuka work. So really another full week. How is everyone else? Did everyone else have a nice weekend? Did anyone do anything interesting? Well, because yeah, I've been visiting Tokyo. Met Dave on Sunday. Wow. How long are you here for? That's so cool. I finally had my pancakes. Tried cooking scallops for the first time. Wow. I also had pancakes this weekend, actually. On Sunday, because I had a day off, I made big pancake breakfast. Proper British pancakes, of course. Until the 12th. I have no idea what the date is. The 3rd. Well, have fun. Are you doing just Tokyo or are you traveling around? Wonder how many people. Yeah, I'm sure quite a few people in this chat. It's a little bit of a captive audience. Quite a few of you have met Dave, I'm assuming. Because I've been tired and grumpy, actually. Maybe I shouldn't talk about this, but I was tired and grumpy last week, and I have a lot of time to think. And I did some sort of quick mental calculations on how like I could theoretically reduce my workload. And the numbers are like quite kind of shocking. Maybe I shouldn't say it. The long and short of it, I'm not going into too much detail. The long and short of it is that if I made one print a year, carved, printed, and published it myself, I could live on just selling 100 copies, and I'd be actually getting more than from all my jobs. And I could do that in like a couple months. So that would mean that if I only did that, I could work 3 months out of the year and just be free the rest of the time. A little bit of a disheartening calculation I did there. 100 prints is that magic number. KP, you're forgetting that I live in Japan and, well, Japan money. The economy's not doing great. Not that it's great anywhere else, but the yen's kind of weak. While you're building your skill now. I don't like talking too much about like the hours and stuff I'm working because I'm really not a fan of, the. I guess it's not. I don't hear as much about it anymore. Maybe it's because the YouTube algorithms are what they are. Maybe it's still like a massive thing. But there was like that whole, what's he called, Gary V or something like that. All the grind set people, just fucking. I don't like it. I don't support that type of thing. I think we should all be able to work a reasonable amount of time and also have a family life and blah 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 and all that jazz. So I worry sometimes that like if there are people out there who like take that stuff as like to get good you need to be just abusive to yourself and like take so much crap. I mean, what else am I going to talk about when that's my life? Still on camera. So these areas you see on the block here, I don't know how detailed you can actually see the difference. If you're on a desktop, maybe you can see it. But all these areas, they're not exactly black. They're in sort of a light grey. I've outlined them in black. You can't see it very clearly, but there are black outlines, very thin black outlines on them all. And these sections are all going to be covered in a separate black block. So these areas are a base tone. And then over these, there's going to be a second black block that'll be really kind of like thick sumi. Probably a bit of Nikawa mixed into it to get a nice rich black. But the registration is going to be really, really critical to make sure everything locks in place nicely. There will be a little bit of extra detailing, particularly on the hands and these round sections. This is just going to be carved exactly the same, if not slightly wider, so it'll cover all the undertones. And if you've looked at the image, I can pop it up real quick here. Samurai. Oh, I don't have it on the screen. I'll put it over here. Yeah, I have it here. If you look at, you can't actually see it. Let me blow it up. If we look at the armor, in the yellow sections there, maybe I put a lower resolution on this one. Yeah. If you look at the yellow bumps on the armor, the yellow sections next to the green there, on all of those little black lines around each of those yellow bits, there's actually a yellow, not a yellow, an orange sort of border going around. So it goes black lines, then an orange line around it, and then the yellow. So there's going to be a lot of detailed stuff like that going in. where the registration is going to be really, really critical on this block. I might do some test printing just to select the colors, but I don't think I'll be doing the final print run. We'll see. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Probably not. Well, I should say hopefully not. But I'd like to do some testing on it, because there's all the prints that are out there, they're all old and toned. And so there is quite a bit of sort of adjusting and sort of depth of colours and the exact tone, because some of a lot of the blue pigments have stayed, but the reds and the yellow is pretty stable actually in this time. Particularly the reds, they'll have been a little bit more fugitives than some of the blues used. And then there's also the tone, the colour of the paper, which is adding like a yellow tint to everything. So there's quite a lot of decisions that need to be made with the colours. So I think I'd like to have a go at, particularly with some of the depth of the purple is the big one. You can't really see any purple on that print, but there definitely is a purple when it was freshly made. And if you look at different versions of this print, you'll see that there's a really wide range. Some of them all look really, really blue, been exposed to a lot of light, and almost all the red has disappeared. And others look like this BM version, a lot more vibrant. Someone mentioned while I was training a minute ago. What was the comment? While you build your skills. Yeah. So we do have to make I say we. If you have input, I'd really love to hear it. But I do have to make some plans for the end of my official apprenticeship. I got to think about something to do for that. That'll be coming up April. This April, it will be officially, the training period is over for my apprenticeship. We just finished those. So I want to do something nice. There'll be a video, of course. But it might be fun to do something special. We'll have to think. If you've got any suggestions for stuff you'd like to see, we can think about that. I'm going to move over to doing some of this now. side as well now. Good. Now there's a couple different ways to do these lines, and maybe I can talk to you about them. One way, maybe I can show you both ways of doing this. One way is much easier to get nice straight lines, and the other way is less risky of chipping, but you also do need to do a little bit of touch up. One of the ways is to do a really light score, and this is probably more common. Do a really light score so you have sort of a guide when you're going in and making the lines deeper. And the other way is to just try and hold your body, keep the knife in the same position, and just go down and chug all the way down. For most of these, I have been doing that second method. Just because these lines are really, really thin, and if you do go a touch too far, it's really easy to break off the little tips, or they can break down a little bit later. And also they do tend to get more tamari, like build-up of pigments. If you've got that tiniest little scratch in the surface, it means that the pigment runs into the little wells. So if a printer is careless with the brush, it tends to pull up. Usually it's okay, but if you do go a little bit too deep, it can lead to excess pigments going in those little crevices. So I'll show you both methods now. Super, super light. So the benefit of doing this is you've already got a score line there, so when you put your knife down, it'll make it much easier to get a straight line. When you place your knife in like this, it's really easy to have little bits of variation, particularly when your knife is like pressing in the wood, it'll compress. If you're changing your angle slightly, it'll press it in a little bit more in one spot. If you've got thicker lines, it doesn't really show, but if you've got thinner lines, it becomes quite visible. The second method, you have more likelihood to get sort of variation, and lines might not completely line up perfectly. But as long as you go a little bit, as long as you don't go too thin you can't fix without doing plugs, which we don't want to do, we want to avoid. As long as you go not too thin, you can always just shave them back and get the right taper to the line afterwards. There's pluses and minuses, and I've actually used both methods on this block. Just some areas I choose just to do it without the initial cut. No, harder wood is much better. Do you always use the same type of wood for carving? Harder wood is the way, because you can't carve these lines on delicate wood. Type in... I don't know my own commands. Sorry. I was trying to type exclamation mark. Is that a command? Yeah, there we go. There you go. There's lots of people giving you advice about wood in the bottom. Thank you all. You can see why this type of carving takes a long time. There's like a lot of prep work for this carving before you can actually go and start picking bits of wood out. But the more carefully you do all this around carving, the better the final lines will look. Okay, that's one side done. You want it towards the harder side, especially for key blocks. For any sort of wide color areas, you lean more towards the soft. And I think that has very fine lines, you lean more towards the hard. Because it doesn't matter about the wood being that absorbent when your lines are this thick. There's not much pigment you're playing with anyway on the actual surface of the printable area. Question so bad it ended stream. I didn't even know that was a command. I guess shift moves me to my overstream. Make sure that the cursor's in chat. Okay, I've done that side. I've got to do the outside. And these aren't completely straight lines. They may look straight to you, but there's a lot of waving and wobbling that I'm adding in. I just have a look at the reference. How much of that is intentional and how much is just like the original carver going fine, go, 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 moving through it. finer lines you're doing, the harder the wood you want. Yeah, like people have said in chat, it's never like, very rarely we do use something like boxwood, and that's about as hard as we ever go. We don't want anything too hard. It becomes really difficult to carve, and if it's too difficult to carve, it's like difficult to add the flow and stuff that you want in. Your knife work will be a lot more blocky because you're having to expend so much strength and stuff. So you don't want it too hard, and too hard wood will become difficult to print. Something I found interesting is that when I talk about wood hardness with a furniture maker, he was like, cherry is too soft though, and I'm like, yeah, compared to mahogany, but you're talking compared to Shinar birch. Yeah, that's true. But also there's a lot of different varieties of cherry, and like the standard cherry that you usually buy from like a lumber store, it's all grown really, really quickly, and it's really quite soft. I have some standard cherry somewhere, and yeah, it's incredibly soft compared to the Yamasakura. This is grown in the mountains wildly, and so the rings are a lot tighter together, and it's closer towards what's the comparison? It's closer towards what it is than normal one. Now we're going to do the other side. I'm going to do this without scoring it. My own camera. Center it a bit. The key, if you're not doing a score line, is that you want to lock in the blade angle. So you're carving, taking it out at that angle, putting it back in at that angle, moving down, always maintaining that angle. So you're sort of locking here, but keeping everything else soft so you can still carve nicely. The issue with doing this is that it's difficult to get the corners. You can go like that. So I do tend to, unless it's a very large section, I'll leave the corners and I'll come back after. So it's still often a 2-pass. If you're new here, this is probably not the most interesting bit. There's not much action happening. There'll be more action later when I'm doing the verticals and we can start popping some wood up and we can see the sort of flavour of the lines. Do you keep the factory angle of the blade or do you make it pointier? I'm not referring to the sharpening angle, but the angle of the blade itself. Oh no, why did I put it? Give me 1 second. Are you talking about this one? You're not talking about this angle. This angle of the blade I often change, not the tip. Which part of the blade are you talking about? Where could the angle be changed? If you look at the flat, if you were taking a measurement inside the angle point with the flat chisel representing 90 degrees. So we got, let me get a flat chisel. What are you talking about? Are you talking about this angle? This angle here, the bevel. The angle of the bevel. I often change the angle of the bevel, yeah. No. Come on, how many people have we got in chat? We can all figure this out. Which angle? There's a couple angles on the knife. There is the main angle, which is the cutting edge. This one. Oh, we're not covered. Let me get a pointer. We've got the main angle of the knife, which is this, the cutting edge. We have a second angle here of the actual bevel of the knife. We can adjust that as well, make our blade thinner or fatter. If I bring it further down, I've got more of a chunky wedge and the tip of the blade will be stronger. The other angles, there is a slight angle at the tip here that I occasionally cut off if I've got a very pointy blade, or if my blade chips very minorly, I'll take the top off. So there's a slight angle at the tip there. This is completely flat. The back of this blade is completely flat. And the only other angles on are the blade has some thickness. There is a slight angle down here. Obviously I don't change that. How acute the angle is? Well, the acute here. So sometimes I bring it back and it's very pointy, and other times I bring it forward and it's more obtuse. So someone else has got it. I think the angle you're showing in your sticker. This one, right? So this is a very obtuse cutter. Compared to this one now, you can see that my blade is much more pointy than that. If I put it on top, that one is much flatter than my blade. My blade is closer to this 30 degree over here. You can see that that lines up pretty well. This one is sort of a standard blade. This is what I use most of the time. And you can see that I'm a little bit, oh, because of the angle you can't see it. I'm a little bit pointier than, oh, I'm not on camera. I'm a little bit pointier than this one. It's difficult to see, but it's just sticking up. I can see it quite clearly here. I'm somewhere between the two of these. I'm around 30. Around 30. You can see it's much pointier here. Is that what you're talking about? So we change the angle all the time. This particular section over here I haven't carved that yet because I want to use a less pointy knife. I want to use something more around the 40 degrees there. 45. I want to use something around 45 degrees to carve the hairs in this. If you've got a very pointy knife, it has, and you're trying to do very shallow cuts, it has a tendency, because the tip is very thin and pointy, you can undercut lines very easily. So if you've got a flatter knife, basically the more of the blade you have in the wood, the more straight it wants to go, and the less deep it wants to go because there's more friction. So a very pointy tip is really good at doing small curves, but it's not very good at doing straight lines. You can do both with them, but it needs a lot more, you've got to be a lot more careful. So I change knife angles all the time. So for carving straight lines, you want more obtuse. For carving little delicate things like this, you want quite a pointy. And most of this stuff is all very delicate pointy stuff. And the few areas where there are some straighter lines, I can just like be careful and carve with these more pointy knives. And because I'm doing a lot of pointy work in the evenings as well, I've sharpened all my knives to be like this, so that I can just, if I chip a knife or one of my knives gets dull, I can quickly change out without having to stop in the middle of the day. So basically I sharpen once a day at the moment, and I sharpen all 3 knives, and I can get, I'll be okay until the next day, and I only have to sharpen maybe 2, or I have to sharpen all 3. But yeah, basically sharpening once a day at the moment. And if anything happens, sometimes I can get a couple days out the knives if I sharpen all 3 really, really nicely and I don't get any chips. And that's carving morning and evening, so it's really helpful to have all 3. Usually if I'm doing less work and there's more variation, I'll keep a variety. Usually I'll keep 2 around that middle. I'll keep 2 knives around the middle, and I'll keep a pointy one. I don't always have to keep one for carving hairs on hand. Yeah, so usually I keep 2 of these, and then I'll keep 1 pointy one for some really delicate areas. And then when I want to do this, I'll take one of my middle and I'll make it one of this. For hairs, it's also very different as well. We want a wider bevel on the hairs, and that's a future sticker I'm going to be making. The angle that comes from the factory, in fact, where do I have them? So these are new blades. This is how I get them. And that is basically unusable for me. I'd never use that. There are lots of carvers who use things closer to that. But it takes me a long time to sharpen a new blade, because compare it to my blade there. This is like a chisel for me. I'd never use something like that. Only for hairs. This is about the angle I use for doing hairs. So I'll take a new blade actually when I'm sharpening my hair ones, and I'll just bring that bevel really far back. That's basically the angle I need. It is, they come really, really dull. You can actually see the thickness of the edge, because they know that people are going to be shaping them. They just put them on a grind wheel really quick. I don't think they spend much time on it. No idea where we got it to. Is that cut? It's cut. Did we finish? These seem cut. That bit is not cut. So what I'm doing to counteract the pointiness of my blade, I want to cut quite a straight line here. What I'm doing is I'm angling my blade. How can I show you? I'm doing this and I'm pointing the blade really far forward. So I'm getting more of the cutting edge into the wood. So I can account for having a really pointy knife, but I want to use a lot of blade. So instead of carving like I normally do in this position, I'm pushing it forward and carving like that. So I get more of the cutting edge into the wood. So it's more stable. All of these lines are horizontal. I'm going to turn my wood block to make this easier. Bad place to skip. Me? Did I skip something? Did I skip a cut? How do you know if you carve too deep, your piece of wood will come off? If you carve too deep and undercut a line, the lines around it will break off. I shouldn't have done that explanation in the middle of doing this cut. I forgot that I've not cut into these yet. Just at that corner there, it's catching, it's not popping out cleanly because I didn't angle my blade up and do the corner sections. That's okay for now. Now they pop out cleanly. I'm not sure what you mean. Knife to shoot off? I don't think I slipped at all. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. As much as possible. These little bits in the bottom, you want them nice and clean because little fibers will pick up pigments. You'll do a test printing at home by yourself, or I will. Let's use the I statements. And then give it to a printer. And I've printed it lovely, but all the copies come back with like a bit of tamari in there because it builds up over time. Oh, I know what you're talking about. I don't know what I know what you're referring to. I don't know why you're referring. I've had. What do you want me to say to that? I've had a knife skip across the surface of the wood. Yeah, it often happens. You're carving a line like this, and then you'll hit a hard spot, and then you'll put more pressure in, and it'll skip your knife across. I don't know if any of that was on camera. Yeah, that happens. You just gotta be careful. I know what you're talking about with the needles. The needles like that. Lost my place. This is the thing that takes ages. Actually, the thing about carving little lines like this that are all like from a distance they all look the same. But up close, actually, there's a lot of variation in a lot of these little lines. I have no idea. I have to count all the way from the bottom and then count all the way on this and put my mouse as a cursor. Okay. Couple things that can help improve that. Sharp knife. Sharp knife absolutely will prevent that happening too much. Using less pressure, less musculature, more technique, keeping your geometry of your hand and your blade going into the wood correct. Emails, emails, emails. Maybe I should just make 100 prints a year, eh? Oh, we're off camera a bit, are we? Sorry, not in focus there. How long does it change? It varies so much. Depends on the steel, it depends on the sharpen. There's too many variabilities. Sometimes blades, they feel like they can go for a week, and other times, like you get an hour in and you need to resharpen. And they can both feel perfectly sharp when you start. Sometimes it's just a bad piece of, like a little imperfection in the steel. Other times the wood is very hard. Other times you left the blade too sharp and it feels incredible at the beginning, but soon that edge crumbles away. So it varies a lot. For delicate work like this, I tend to, like once a day. Wow, I'm using 3 blades, so it's probably more than once a day, like 1.5 times a day. So what would that be? One every 6 hours? Depends on how rough you are. But if you get a nice sharpener and a nice bit of steel, like it feels like you just never need to sharpen it again. It'll just go, go, go until you chip it, and then it's like, oh, that was a really good one. I didn't have to sharpen for a couple of days, you know? Odd shaped lines like this one here. It's got a big bulbous thing on it. They help me position. I got to do some more of this stuff back going. I've just reached a point where it's over. So I think we're going to leave it there. We nearly finished the line. I think we got a little bit dull at the start, a little bit too technical at the end. The balance for the stream is off. I'm a little bit out of practice. Missed last stream. We got ads starting in 10 seconds, so I think we're just going to leave it there. Thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you on Friday. Arigatou gozaimasu. Oh, wait, was that the... Nice rectangles, thank you. So I think that was the end of the adverts, actually. Yeah, we'll just leave it there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you've got any prints you're making yourself, please put them in Discord. I've noticed that there's been a couple of people posting. Who was it recently? Anyway, check out the Discord, check out the Patreon, let's chill everything. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a good one. And peace.